Welcome, everyone. I'm Tian. I'm so happy that you are here. Thank you so much for showing up. If you ever felt overwhelmed, stretched too thin, or like there's never enough time for self care, this video is for you. Because today we will talk about a powerful tool that can help you achieve better balance and prioritize your overall well being. That tool is boundaries. So, what exactly are boundaries? Well, boundaries are the limits or rules we set for ourselves in our relationships. Essentially, they communicate what is and isn't acceptable behavior from others. For example, a boundary could be not answering calls or texts after a certain time in the evening, because that's your personal time. Another example is setting a boundary around how much personal information you share with coworkers or acquaintances. Or you might have a boundary about not lending money to friends or family members. Setting boundaries is incredibly important for several key reasons. The first reason is that it helps us protect our mental health and self worth. When we have healthy boundaries in place, we're less likely to be taken advantage of, disrespected, or mistreated by others. In this way, setting boundaries is a form of self respect and a way to protect our energy, time, and emotional well being. By clearly defining what is and isn't okay, boundaries also foster mutual respect and healthy communication in our relationships. Another point is that having strong boundaries also allow us to maintain our sense of autonomy and independence within our relationships. It prevents us from becoming overly enmeshed or codependent with others. In other words, boundaries help us prioritize our own needs and values rather than constantly sacrificing ourselves to please others. So, how do we go about setting boundaries? The first step is to identify your needs, values, and limits. Get clear on what's important to you and what you're willing to accept or not accept from others. So, what drains you? Think back to that. And what do you need to feel respected in your relationships? For example, let's say you value your alone time and peace of mind in the evenings after work. You find it draining when friends or family call you late at night to chat or vent. Then communicate your boundaries clearly and respectfully. Don't blame or don't point a finger. You could just say something like, I care about you and value our relationship, but I also need to unwind in the evenings. Going forward, I won't be able to take calls after 8 p.m. unless it's an emergency. So notice, a lot of the statements starts with I. These are called I statements, and it makes sure that you are communicating your boundaries in a respectful way. Consistency is key. You need to uphold your boundaries consistently for them to be effective. So if someone calls you at 9 p.m. just to chat, you'll need to politely remind them of the boundary you've set or let the call go to voicemail. And remember, you don't need to apologize for having boundaries. I know it's hard, especially if you have a tendency to prioritize others, but this is where practicing self compassion comes in. Remind yourself that setting boundaries is a normal and healthy practice, and you deserve to set boundaries to protect yourself. An example of reaffirming your boundary without feeling guilty is to say something like this: I understand you want to talk, but as I mentioned before, I don't take calls after 8 p.m., so let's catch up tomorrow instead. Of course, sometimes our boundaries may be crossed or disrespected by others. If someone continues calling you late despite your stated boundary, it's important to address these issues calmly and assertively. You could say, I've made it clear that I don't take calls after 8 p.m., but you've called me several nights this week very late. I need you to respect this boundary going forward. If it continues, I may have to take further steps like blocking your calls during those hours. So reinforce the consequences if the violation persists, and be willing to follow through on these consequences even if it's difficult. Remember, boundaries without consequences are merely suggestions, so it's very important that you're firm and consistent with enforcing them. All right, so that is all I have for you today. I would love to hear your thoughts and experiences with boundaries in the comments below. If you're looking for more resources on boundaries or just mental health in general, please visit my blog. It's called withtn.com and it's linked in the description box. I also highly recommend the book Set Boundaries, Find Peace by Nedra Tawwab, um, also linked in the description box. What I appreciate most about this book is that it provides very powerful guidance for overcoming challenges like feeling guilty when setting boundaries. Yeah, so remember you have the right to set boundaries and your boundaries matter. I hope you learned something from this video, and I'll see you in the next one.